So last week I posted a short tutorial on a rough drawing of my feet, and the reason why I did that was kind of like for you to prepare yourself ahead of time so you can build confidence for when you're drawing on the canvas. And so today I'm gonna tackle the painting, so stick around and wish me luck, and let's see how it goes. Okay, so I've got my stuff ready, and there's my canvas with my grid lines, and then that is a drawing that I posted last week, and here is my reference. I've got my grid lines on everything, okay, and yeah, those are my feet, guys. So who in the world I'm laughing because who in the world would want to draw their feet and much less paint? Well, I was sitting down and I had my legs crossed, and then I looked down to my feet and I thought, oh my goodness, that is so cool. And so I entered the picture of my feet online, and then I asked chat for an image with a sheet. First of all, I had a sheet that I had seen a lot of pretty folds on there, and I wanted a double exposure, and I just kept playing with it until I got something that I liked. And this is Monet's style, supposedly, according to chat. He was known for an impressionistic artist, and he did a lot of luminous work. And anyhow, of course, the water lilies is kind of his mark. I really liked it, and it looks prettier on the screen. On the camera screen. I'll post it here in a second. I am gonna do something a little different. It's gonna be used with the subtractive drawing technique, and I'm gonna make it a little different because normally you don't have to put any paint down on the bottom. You just use your glaze and then just subtract from that. But what I'm gonna do is I'm going to get some flesh colored skin tones about, where my feet are at in the center, right along here. And then for the lilies, I'm going to use kind of like a pinkish grayish undercoat, just put wherever my flowers are going to go. See right there down here on the bottom. And I'm not going to be specific on how I apply it, but anyhow, and then I'm going to do some blue grayish tones for the water in the background. So that'll look real pretty. And then when we start subtracting, all those colors are going to be revealing, okay? And I am going to do a lot of time lapse on here, okay? Because I am considerate of your time. So stick around and let's see how it turns out. Okay, I'm going to get a little creative here with my canvas. You see my easel. I don't know if you've seen my previous videos where I'm painting here on my easel, and my brother made this for me here, so I love it, and it's a memory, and I'll never get rid of it. At least I hope I never will have to. So okay, so what I'm going to do is get a little creative here. I'm going to put this canvas right up here because last time it fell right in there on my previous video, and there's a little gap right in here, and it falls down, and so I had to put some duct tape right here. But anyhow, so I'm going to get creative here. So those are my 4 piles that I'm going to use. My water, my flesh tone, my pink lilies, which are not pink, and then my yellow reflection of the water. Okay, so I just basically start applying my colors. It doesn't matter how they go on there. Remember, these colors are not going to show at the end. And there is a reference, and I just used light tones. And I'm going to allow all this to dry overnight, and then the next day I'm going to glaze. And I use burnt umber and ultramarine blue, and I just apply the color. And I'm not using gel kit. You can use gel kit as a medium. I just went ahead and I thinned it out with thinner. And now here I'm carving out And see how it's kind of keeping my eye focused on where the feet are, which is kind of cool. I kind of thought this idea was a little cool versus not using any color underneath. But it doesn't really matter. It depends on what you want. And here I ended up getting this little sponge. I bought them at Hobby Lobby. I did not like them, so I don't recommend those sponges. I'd rather use makeup sponges. And they seem to pick up the paint better. And then I also picked up these little subtractive tools from there, and they were 3 in a pack. They were pretty cheap, and I was kind of hesitant about purchasing these, but I went ahead. So I can't remember the name of the brand. It was like an off brand, so I don't recommend them. And then here I'm using the Q-tip. My favorite tool, the subtractive tool, is from Amazon, and I believe for just one it's like $10-12. And I just keep subtracting until, I'm pretty pleased with it. And then I allowed this coat also to dry. And you'll see here in a minute where I actually now used another glaze on top of that because it's been dry already overnight. And then I start applying my color. And because this is kind of like a Monet style, I'm just doing little broken up brush strokes and here and there dabbing colors that I see from the reference. And you cannot get ever exact to the reference, guys. So don't get too disappointed with yourself if you're not able to pick up exactly what you see. Sometimes we see more than what we need, and so we need to actually decide what matters. And so you can see the lily pods at the back. Yeah, I'm just applying my colors. So. Okay, well, first of all, I want to apologize for the unclarity on the previous little clippings. Here I'm using a Canon camera that I was so tickled about how clear the photo came out, and I'm so happy. I'm learning how to use it, so bear with me. I will, try to bring you some better videos, but anyhow, so okay, so now I'm getting closer to finishing, and my brush strokes are becoming a little more intentional. I've already got the cover on the canvas. I don't have to worry about, all my color being on there. And so now I'm just focusing on the small little adjustments, and I'm trying to strengthen the painting. And so at this point, I kind of start asking myself, a few questions, if my focal point, is strong enough, if I need to make any kind of adjustments on there. And I'm really pleased at this point. And then so I kind of noticed too that because I'm looking for my darkest darks also and my lightest lights, and then I also make sure that that everything is in the right place. But I did notice that I need to create some darkness in the water, so I'll be adding probably a little bit of a little black, some darker colors. I might do a mixture of black, and I might end up using black itself out of the tube. But anyhow, so I stand back also, I did stand back, of course I clipped it off from here, but I stand back every now and then so that I can make sure that everything is in its right place, and that my focal point is looking good, because I want my viewer to go directly to the focal point. I'm not focused about the lilies and the reflections and all, and of course I do need to play with a little bit with the reflection, but some of the lilies that are towards the back, I want to create them kind of atmospheric, and so I'll probably just blur those out, and you can blur objects out by kind of, just smudging them. And this is oil based, so you might want to, put a little dab on there, or, create your brush stroke and then just wipe it off with your finger. But you're not wiping it off, you're rubbing it so it can create a blur. Okay, so at this point I am just creating my highlights, and if you notice on the feet I ended up kind of changing the color a little bit, so I removed all the highlights by painting over after it dried, and then I just create them back, and that's because I wanted more of a different tone on my feet. Okay, so just a quick brief preview. We did the subtractive method with a base color underneath. That's not normally done that way, but I'm sure there's probably other artists that have. I just wanted to give it a shot and see what the difference was. So I would recommend you do it first without a base, okay? And then we allowed it to dry, and then we started painting. And then tip also, we sometimes can't paint everything that is on the reference, so you as the artist have to decide what is important. Okay, so anyhow, and here it is done. I hope you liked it, and I hope it helps.